when I first came online, I had just pretty much gotten clean. I was getting clean from heroin, and this had been like a 10-year battle for me. And I was extraordinarily happy to be clean, but pretty soon realized that I was also broke, and being broke sucked. And so I was working construction with my dad, and here in Florida, it's hot outside, really hot. And I learned very quickly that that wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I got into marketing. I first did like different, kind of shady things in terms of this MLM or that MLM, not illegal. That was all in my previous life. As of 2008, I was on the path to the straight and narrow, trying to get my life back together and really just have a life for the first time. And so the network marketing, the MLMs, the different kind of, different things that I was doing weren't working. And so I came online and I essentially got into affiliate marketing. This was the first thing that I started to do. And I was selling training to other network marketers, even though I was a failed network marketer, at how to generate leads online, because I had realized that you could generate leads online. You had to create content, some form of content, kind of like you have to now. But if I could do that, then I could generate leads. I could also run ads. What I realized quickly was whether I was going to be doing free content or paid ads, that I needed to learn how to tell a story. And this was 2008. This was before a lot of the new age and kind of new guru formulas that are, every other person is a branding and marketing expert on Instagram. This was when basically I learned a lot of my marketing and kind of persuasion and community building tactics and methods from 12-step recovery. Because remember, I got clean from heroin in 2008. At this point, it was 2009, 2010. I'm coming online, I'm trying to create content. I realized that I have to be able to tell a story or tell my story to sell. And I didn't know how to do that. And there was nobody that was really teaching that, at least that I had access to. And so when I was in recovery, I started to go to these treatment meetings, taking the message into a treatment center to try to help other men get clean. This was an act of service that I did. And when I was getting ready to share, which I didn't know that I was going to do one day, a guy gave me some instructions that helped me to tell my story, and ended up being a formula that I'd use for the next nearly 2 decades to be able to essentially just tell my story. Whether it was in just a personal situation or a business setting, this formula and this framework gave me so much clarity to be able to deliver what I had to deliver, which was essentially kind of my journey through getting clean. That was at least what I was talking about in this treatment center. And so the framework that this guy gave me was, here's what happened, here's what it was like, here's what happened, and here's what it's like now. So here's what it was like. This is all of the pains and the struggles and the things that you went through when life sucked, or when a particular problem really sucked, which for me at that time was drugs and alcohol, being homeless. That sucked. What happened was, which is the second part of the formula, here's what it was like, here's what happened. What happened for me was I got arrested and I got introduced to recovery information, and then eventually, through a couple of relapses, came back and finally got clean. And so that's what happened, was I found a guide, or I found a source, a mentor, or some knowledge that I didn't have before. And number 3, here's what it's like now. So here's what it was like, here's what happened, and here's what it's like now. And this is the transformation. This is the part this is the result. And so now, as a result of getting clean, I'm not homeless, I'm not starving, I'm not broke, I'm not broken anymore. I'm building my life back. And that worked flawlessly for me in that situation. It gave me a framework, a 3-part simple framework to be able to tell my story in that scenario to those men that day in that treatment center. And what happened was, for me, before ever trying to sell anything, before I really got heavy into marketing or realizing that I was going to need more than just a willingness, I was going to need some skill, more than just passion. I was going to need some tactics. I learned how to tell my story without selling, without marketing. And I think that helped. And obviously a lot of business people, creators, marketers nowadays kind of come online and begin the extraction process the first time that they tell a story. And I think it really is a misunderstanding of kind of the way owning a business, reciprocity, and trade works, right? If I tell a story, I haven't delivered enough value for somebody to want to buy something from me, right? But because that's the mindset that most people are in, coming from a job or the kind of 9-to-5 world, we begin to tell a story or whatever, and we immediately want something. Well, if I could take a page out of my playbook, which allowed me to tell my story for long enough without trying to sell something or really wanting anything, the only thing that I was looking for was to try to impact the audience. And that was my number one thing, as a matter of fact. My journey in recovery, even in those first couple of years, as I was getting clean, and when I say recovery, I mean 12-step, like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, that's what I mean. I was speaking, I was delivering my story on stages, podiums, small groups, one-on-one. And again, my only objective was to just make an impact on the audience, just make an impact on the listener, just make an impact on the person I was talking to, and also for me to get something out of it. Tell it in a way that made me feel good about me, that turned my mess into a message. I mean, that was ultimately what helped me start to feel good about my drug addiction story, was that I was able, and through telling it enough times, I'm sure, because I don't really remember what I said in that very first treatment room that I told my story. The only thing that I remember is people coming up to me after me, thanking me, saying, thank you for telling your story. But I don't remember what I said. I'm sure there was a lot of mess. But somewhere along the lines, through practicing telling it enough times, it became a message. And so when I did come online and really got serious about wanting to learn how to market and sell, I had already had practice telling my story without looking for compensation, without looking to extract anything from the audience, except wanting to just impact them, that I was practiced and well-versed in telling that story in a way that was going to impact the audience, because I was practiced. That was what I had practiced doing. And so if I was to give myself advice starting back over again at 24, so maybe you're in your 20s, maybe you're in your teens watching this, maybe obviously you're older. I'm 41 now. The advice that I would give myself would be to tell your story and learn how to turn your mess into a message. Tell a marketing story without trying to extract anything from your audience, without trying to sell anything, without trying to generate anything, but just looking to try to make an impact on them and genuinely help. Like, I'm talking about no calls to action, no nothing. Just learn how to tell a story and learn how to tell your story, and then learn how to tell and tie your story to the product that you're selling. Because that's the ultimate formula for building a business, for building $1 million brand, for building $100 million brand, which I've done now twice, And the core, the root, and the foundation of each one of those marketing messages and cultures was story. It was creating enough content and telling my story enough times that not only did it inspire me, but it also became imprinted in my listeners, my prospects, my audience mind. So when they went to make a buying decision, it wasn't just about, X, Y, and Z benefit or feature. It was about being a part of something bigger, learning from somebody and being around somebody who had also done it. And that is the power of story. The power of story, especially in a marketing or business setting, is that obviously never tell a story without making a point, and try not to make a point without telling a story. The reason why you're going to do that in a business setting is to make a point or a connection, to build rapport with the room faster. But focus on that being the number one priority at the beginning. And I did that, and that was something that I did right. That was something that I got right. Now, there's a million things that I've failed at or mistakes that I've made over the past 16 years, which sounds incredible to even say, because again, getting clean at 24 and then coming online roughly a year later after I had kind of glued my ass back on and was sort of beginning to not be broken anymore, I came online and I was essentially just like so many people who are coming online now, starting from scratch, just a different time period. The similarities are what you need to pay attention to, though, and realize is that the thing that impacts and connects people then and now is still the same thing. It's story. So, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now.